All right, what's going on, everybody, man? Welcome back to a very special episode on that type time, man. I'm here with my old baseball coach and just a great friend and a mentor, Anthony Pignatiello, better known as Coach Piggy, and he's a pretty much a Calumet City legend, man. Everybody know Pig, and he went to CF North. He was all area and all conference in football, 4-year varsity starter in baseball. He's a state champion and coaching for football, and he came back and now he the head coach at TF North, and he took us at a 12-year playoffs drought, man. So hats off to him, man. He the dude, man. What's going on, Pig?
Not too much. Hey, really quick, appreciate the introduction there and all the kind words, but all those accolades and all those special accomplishments are due to the people around me, because I can't do those things alone. And a lot of the accomplishments, especially from the coaching aspect, I was not the one on the field. It was guys like yourself that were out there making me and other coaches look probably better than we are at times, and picking us up when we needed you. But at the end of the day, players win games. So from the coaching aspect, it's been very, very, very special to be able to coach great young people like yourself. And with your guys' success, sometimes we get to achieve some of those accolades, but really it's about the players. So I just appreciate guys like you who we've been fortunate enough to coach and again, make us look better than we are. I'll speak for myself. You guys make me look better than I am. I have great assistant coaches. They're the best, but I'm not that good. And you guys make me look that much better.
Shit, I appreciate that, Big man. Sure. So we're just gonna hop right into the question. So my first question for you, knowing that you're a Calumet City native, like growing up in Cal City, like how was that for you? Like family dynamic, like you have any siblings and like playing sports and just the all around vibe in Cal City growing up?
Yeah, great question. A question that I will definitely enjoy answering. If you know me, you know that I'm very proud to be from Calumet City. Good old 2464th Street, 708-891-1038. That's what kind of made me who I am today. Outside of my parents, my mom and dad are extreme blessings in my life, awesome individuals. You and many of your teammates see them around the ballparks and fields, supporting those teams that you guys played for just as much as they supported me and my buddies when we were playing at North and in the leagues growing up in Cal City. But very fortunate to have both of them at home and kind of guide me throughout my life growing up in Cal City. And then I have two younger siblings, my sister Annie, my brother Michael, and both very active in sports growing up as well. And so I had a blast growing up in Cal City. I mean, it's kind of one of those things that you almost movie-esque. We as kids had friends up and down the different neighborhoods in town. I went to the one grade school from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, smaller private school in Calumet City. So I had a bunch of close friends, but in a smaller school, and then expanded my friend circle through sports in Cal City. You grew up playing in Calumet City Civic League, was our baseball organization. And at the time, when I was a kid growing up, we actually had two leagues. We had the Little League on the north side of town, and we had the Civic League on the south side of town. So there was a lot of baseball being played, a lot of baseball being offered to the youth in Calumet City. And then from there, with the other sports, I played basketball in some of the park leagues, and then also for my school. And then in regards to football, I played for the South Holland Jets, because at the time, Calumet City didn't have a feeder program. So I played South Holland Jets. So that's how I made friends, not just in Calumet City at other schools, but also from other towns as well. We lived and died over at Indieli Park, right off a state line across the border there, playing sandlot baseball like you see in the movies. Lob ball with the tennis, courts in the background. That was our home run fence. Or we drive up to Vets Park and play on the fields until somebody kicked us off because they had to get the fields ready for the games later in the evening. And then got to go to TF North. My initial, plan or idea of where I was going to go to high school when I was graduating 8th grade, it wasn't as clear cut as people may think. There was an opportunity to potentially go to some of the private schools. And at the time, my parents were considering moving, but we didn't move. So then it ended up working out where I did start at North, and what a blessing that was. I had an outstanding 4 years, probably the best 4 years of my life. I enjoyed my college time, but the 4 years at TF North in high school were very, very special to me. So very fortunate to grow up, be born and raised in Calumet City. And after that, went on to Illinois State. But my parents moved my freshman year of college. So I've only known Calumet City as my hometown. From the time I was born through high school, it was Cal City. So I'm happy to be back at TF North as a teacher and a coach. And like I tell people all the time, even though I don't live there currently, I get to go home every day to my hometown, and that's where I go for work every day. And it seems like it's a year-round thing with the summer camps and all the stuff we do, even when school's not in session. So I'm going back to home every single day.
I already know that's where your heart at, man. I already know you ride or die with Cal City. So
yep,
for sure. So I know you was talking about like after going to college, like what was that life like life after sports, you know? Like, because I feel like it's like a real transitional period for like even people like me. I just graduated graduated college, my bad. I just graduated college. And like I'm not saying I'm done, but like that's definitely a thought in my mind too. Like I feel like it's a transitional period and that's tough for a lot of people. So what like advice would you have for people that's like in that transitioning period?
In regards to sports being over, my dad just kind of gave me some friendly advice and was just telling me, make sure that you're seeking out, positive, ways to channel that energy, that adrenaline, those sort of emotions that used to get put into sports and playing and not, filtering it through the wrong things. And I kind of took that to heart and, try to focus those things on schoolwork, doing the best I could as a college student, relationship building, those sort of things. And then obviously if I could get involved with any sort of intramurals or rec league stuff, to still do that. So I could still, be involved with sports in some capacity. And then ultimately going back to what I started with is it continue to motivate me, to kind of seek out opportunities to coach, how I can get involved with different organizations. And then as I was coming to the end of my college career and getting ready to start student teaching and all those things, I started to reach out to old coaches and really kind of see what was available to do specifically in football as I was getting ready to do my student teaching in the fall of 2012 and just get back to the game that way. So that was kind of my transition from playing in my high school days and then leading up to my coaching days starting in 2012.
Yeah, I just want to touch back on what you were saying, like about channeling your energy in like different ways. Like I feel like people like you, Pig, because you're very passionate about what you do. Like you can be like misunderstood in ways, and I feel like it is people that I even know that maybe misunderstand you, but it's not that you were yelling or mad at them. You just passionate and you want them to do better, And I feel like that can be misunderstood, and I just want to clear that up, man. You're a great guy, man, and if anybody is misunderstood by you, it's out of love and it's out of passion. I feel like, and I think that's a great example.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate guys like you, Jay, because I mean, you've you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. Especially for someone like yourself, specifically to your 4 years at North were unique. For me as a coach, because you were part of the first freshman class. You were the part of the group that came in as freshmen my first year as a head coach, and this is baseball I'm talking about. And so you kind of got to grow with me. I think I got the job in the spring of 2015, which probably put me right around 24, 25 years old. And for coaches, that's still pretty young. That's guys that are usually pretty early in their careers. And I had only been an assistant coach the 2 years prior, so not a ton of experience in coaching. And then to kind of get the opportunity to be the head coach was great, but it was also something that was new to me and came early on in my career, where there's other guys, as you know, who have waited to be a head coach for 10, 15, 20 years. It just kind of depends on how things fall into place, what opportunities are available, different circumstances in different situations. But in regards to the way I've coached is I've summed it up. I've tried to sum it up with that tough love phrase, in the last few years and sitting and talking with people when that question comes up, if I've been in an interview process, I just think the tough love is what I always go back to. And it's a toughness because we want to pull everything we can out of you young people. One of the scariest things, I think it's a quote from the Bronx Tale, is wasted talent, right? Or people who don't, meet the expectations that others, have for them or they have for themselves. And we don't want to see that from young people. We don't want to see that from our athletes. So a lot of times from the coaching perspective, we have to do things to motivate and push you guys to maybe go to places in your mind or physically that you aren't necessarily willing to put yourself. So we're going to push you to that. And then backing that up with the love factor. So after a tough workout or after a tough game or after a situation in practice where maybe you got chewed out or, you didn't get chewed out, but you got called out, right? Or you made a bad play and you had to hear a little bit about it. The hope is that, our players, and I say ours because I've put myself around great coaches over the years, whether it was me being a head coach and putting together a staff or me being a part of a staff as an assistant. I've just watched coaches build guys back up even after those tough moments. And so hopefully, guys that have played for me or have been around me as a coach understand that. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, and you can speak to this, I won't speak for you, but it's not until maybe after you leave the program that you look back and you say, okay, that's why a coach did that. That's why this coach was hard on me. That's why this coach kicked me out of a practice or made me change my walk-up song or something along those lines, because there was a lesson to be learned and hopefully guys learn it quicker. They learn it sooner than later. But I can't tell you how many people have come back over the years, even in my short time. I've been at this thing now for 12 years. And there's guys that are your age who will come back who maybe didn't make it with us, maybe played for a couple years and didn't come back out as a junior. Or, I've had guys, football, baseball, who maybe, got run off. Maybe they didn't meet our expectations and we had to let them go. And I see them later in life, and believe it or not, it's very respectful. It's very positive. The exchange, the interaction is not negative. And, if anything, maybe those guys even respect us for doing that, for maybe, making them learn a lesson that's tougher than others in the sense of maybe taking the game away from them if they couldn't make with us. And that's not a big list. We usually gave guys second, third, 10th chances
for sure.
To make it with us. But I definitely think that, there's no doubt that if you see a coach, whether it's me or anybody else, you look at these guys in the pros and the college level, and they're just tearing into players. There's a million things you can find on the internet. Nick Saban obviously is a hot name right now because he just announced his retirement, but you see him just getting into players, and then you hear those players talk about that later in an interview, and they talk and they say, that's just part of it. We know where it's coming from. We know why he's upset. We know why he's intense, and we get it, and we don't get mad at him. Maybe we don't like hearing it in the moment, but we understand where it's coming from. And at the end of the day, they learn to respect that type of coaching. And that's probably what a lot of you guys have experienced with us. But back to the whole love part of it, I hope you guys have experienced a lot of love too. Guys get there to give you a hug or be there at graduation to take a picture with you and your teammates after the season ends, or come out and watch guys play in summer league ball with my kids and those sort of things too. I hope we've done enough as coaches, and I think we have to make sure that you guys know that even through the tough times or the times where, you guys might be hearing some words that we'd have to bleep out on this podcast, that there's a lot of love behind us and where that's coming from.
For sure, man. And I feel like everybody know my dad, man. I've been raised like that, man. And I just feel like you helped me like just get a different point of view, and you help prepare me like for college. Like when I went to South Sub, like everybody know where Rue is, and I ain't never had. To be honest, I never had no white man yell at me like that, and I feel like you just gave me a different point of view. And then when Coach Rue he started yelling at me, I was more prepared for that. And then I went on the IUP, and I had Coach Klein. He a different type of animal. Like he really like Nick Saban. Like he really gonna rip into you, like all type of words. It's crazy. So I just feel like you just gave me a different point of view, and I definitely appreciate it, man. It's nothing but love, man.
Well, I think, Jeremiah, you hit on something that's really important to me, and I don't want to take the conversation and go at any sort of tangents on you, but I really appreciate you being transparent in saying the whole, you never had a white man yell at you like that, right? Because that's one of the things I feel like in our program was so special, is that you had guys that looked like myself who were maybe coaches, right? And then you had guys that looked like yourself who were players. And a lot of the things that we see or read from society from the outside today doesn't want us to be able to, get along, and doesn't want us to be able to have these relationships like we have. And even through yelling and being coached hard and doing all those things, we came together and formed a bond, not just with you, but your teammates as well. And then as a program, and then as a team, to collectively kind of tell society, no, you're not going to be able to tell us what we can and can't do and how we're supposed to think about somebody else who doesn't look like us. We're going to look at that person and understand that person for who they are and what they're about. And we're going to kind of let their character and their actions, speak for themselves. And we're going to give this opportunity to each other to kind of show just how much we care for one another, regardless of what other people are telling us, or regardless of what our other experiences were coming into high school or into a head coaching role, or whatever the case may be. And I love that part of being able to coach and teach at TF North, because let's face it, the majority of the players that I coach and will coach, at North will look like you, and they won't look like me, or they won't look like my own children. Right. But I think that's also what makes it so special to me, because at North, when I was a player there, especially in football, I was one of two white guys on the team. And as a senior, I think we played 10 games. 2 of them were against the same team, but I might've been the only white guy on the field. So my teammates really, made me comfortable in that situation and really had my back. And that kind of just prepared me for life. And, I'm very thankful for that experience.
Sure. I'm thankful for you too, Pig, man. You just, like I said, you gave me a different point of view, and it's not the skin, it's the character, for sure. But just time back in, like, we gonna go back in. I had a question about, like, just what those feelings was like when you did win that state championship with Lincoln Way East, and like just what that feeling was like.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Getting that opportunity and kind of how that whole thing unfolded. Coach Zavonar, he's a Hall of Famer. I was able to attend his Hall of Fame luncheon last year. And that guy, he was deserving of the Hall of Fame 10 years ago. And his staff, I worked with the offensive side, the staff on that side of the ball, and Coach Palisard is the offensive coordinator there. And there's a numerous amount of guys on that staff. They have a lot of coaches at East. And it was an absolute blessing, and what a great opportunity to learn from so many great coaches that, obviously made me better, whether it was while I was coaching there and doing the baseball thing at TF North, because I was doing those at the same time, or being able to take some of those things, a lot of the things that I learned at Lincoln Way East, and bringing that and applying that to our football program at North over this past year. Unbelievable experience. Very, very, very well-known program, very well-respected program. But when you're inside it, and you don't have to be there very long, I've been quoted saying this now several times in different interviews the last year, since people have kind of asked me what it was like working there. You don't have to spend a lot of time to realize why they are as good as they are. They don't get outworked. It's top notch. It's a class act. It's everything you would expect a great program to be, and more. It's just an extremely, extremely impressive system and program that they have in place, and everybody's all in, whether that be the coaches, the players, administration, the staff there, obviously the parents, the community. It's an all in mentality, and they do a great job of making it work. And I was very fortunate to be there. In 2018 was my first year, and I coached, probably one of the best collection of high school talented football teams ever. That 2018, we came up a little short. It was an outstanding season. Finished in the semifinals that year, and then coming back the following year, there was still obviously an extreme amount of optimism within the program, but I think because of the damage we did in 2018 and the way we were winning games, but fell a little short, teams, maybe doubted us a little bit, or people on the outside weren't sure if we were going to be able to match that. And now not only did we match it, but we ended up getting to the state championship and getting it done. And, there's numerous amount of players that were a huge part in that success that season. But obviously one kind of stands out and somebody I still have contact with today, and very fortunate to coach him. And that's AJ Henning. He was Gatorade Player of the Year that year. And, kind of one of the leaders of the team, absolutely phenomenal football player, but even better human being. He was just like yourself, Jeremiah, great personality, very easy to coach, understood that we could get on him about things, even though he was getting recruited to every major university in the country. He never let that go to his head. And that was a very cool experience to see a kid like that, who had all the attention around him. And, for a lot of people would tell you that he had every right to be, arrogant or let it go to his head. And that's just not who he is. It's never what he was about. He was about his teammates. His post-game interview from the state championship game tells you everything you need to know. He talks about his linemen and his tight ends and, what those guys meant to him and how they impacted the game. And just a very, very special player, both on and off the field. And then on a personal side, I got to coach two of my cousins that year as well. My one cousin, Sam Pliga, was our starting tight end on that team. And then his little brother, my cousin, Danny Pliga, was a receiver on the team as well. So what a special, opportunity that is to have two of your first cousins on the team. And, we got to celebrate a state championship on kind of a tough day in our family. It was, the day that our grandmother passed away, that the state championship game was played, and we won it, and we won it 12-0. And my favorite number is 12. So looking up at the crowd and my aunt and uncle, my dad, and my family being there, and kind of having a moment as a family to see, like, maybe my grandma was kind of, talking to us through the scoreboard that night, even though it was a tough day in our family's past. But it was special to be out there with my cousins and to see them enjoy that. And we all got a ring because of it. So to answer the question, it was absolutely unbelievable. But I will tell you this, and I say this very, very humbly, that there have been, before that and since then, I've had those same feelings, those same emotions run through me as a coach. I know the state championship game gets put on a pedestal, and it should. Because in order to be a state champion, it takes a lot of hard work. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort into that sort of success. But I think from the coaching perspective, and maybe it's because I'm older and I'm not putting the pads on, I will tell you that there are things that have happened in my coaching career over the course of 12 years where I've had those same emotions about players, about teams, about successes, about a lot of different stuff. So as special as that was, there have been other things that have happened that I've felt that same way, both prior to and after being a part of state championship. But by no means am I trying to take anything away from that. It was unbelievable, and I was an extremely small part of that run. But I was very, very fortunate and very blessed to be there, and it was special, very special for my family, for the team, for the community. Very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, that seemed like a cool experience. Great experience for sure.
Yeah, it's a cool piece of jewelry to get. I can tell you that. I don't wear it every day, but my wife kind of makes fun of me sometimes because I do like to put it on for special occasions. So if you see me at any weddings or things of that nature, I usually throw the big piece of iron on the ring finger on the right hand because it's pretty sweet. It's
bro,
really,
as you should. I'd definitely rock one if we got one. I would have rocked it every day.
Yep,
for sure.
Absolutely. And for the players, 100%, man. You guys could wear that all the time, 24/7. Because you can't have it taken away, right? That's the big thing. And for those kids that were part of that team, whether they were a starter, whether they were a third string kid, whether they saw the field that night, whether they didn't, they should all be very proud of what they put into it. And I can't tell you how happy and how proud I am to be a part of that. It was very, very cool.
Sure. And just you saying that, I remember you touched on something like you was just saying the culture there, like everybody was all in. And I know you came back to TF North and you took us out of a 12-year playoffs drought the first year that you was the head coach. And I just feel like, do you feel like you trying to bring that type of culture back to TF North? Like, I feel like that was like a real tight knit group. Like even the games that I came to, it seemed like everybody was playing for each other. So, like, how do you feel like you bringing that back to North?
Yeah, I mean, first, that's not a me thing. You know that, Jay. You played for me. I don't, I don't do those things. I don't put pads on. I didn't go on the mound and pitch, a gem like you did, in those games that you pitched for us, and slammed the door against Revis for a huge win, and then rolled into the Railcats game the next night and gave us everything you had, and then came back later in the year and had Tinley on the ropes in the regional. That's not me. That's you. Those are your teammates behind you. That's the young catcher behind the plate who's doing it for the older guys. Like, I'm just there to get in the way.
For sure.
So
just make sure nothing crazy happens.
When we talk about those successes and anything that's happened with teams that I've been a part of, I have to continually put all the accolades and all the success and all the glory to the players, because I don't step foot on that field. And when I say that about getting in the way, if I make a mistake as a coach, pull a guy too early, leave a guy out there too long, call the wrong play as an offensive play caller, those sort of things, I'm having a negative impact on the game. But the players are the ones that are going to go out there and execute and make things happen. So in regards to what happened at TF North this past fall, just awesome to be a part of it, but also awesome to kind of sit back and watch these young people who I didn't really know very well. That's the other thing. I'm talking to a guy, who I've known since you were, 14 years old, and then got to really build a strong relationship with you over the course of 4 years. For our senior class this past season for North football, I really didn't get to know a lot of those guys until June. We had meetings, we did workouts, but I took the job. I accepted the position late in the game. It was almost the end of March when it was officially announced. We went on spring break like 2 weeks later. So the whole off season was kind of lost. We came back, middle of April, got after it for a few weeks, and then it was June camp. So I don't know these kids. They don't know me super well. I knew their name. Obviously, I jumped into watching film. I started asking questions, tried to build some of those relationships. But it was one of those things where you're kind of feeling each other out from player to coach to player, trying to see what everybody was all about, and building that trust and trying to establish some normality amongst ourselves. But I can tell you this. As we progressed through the summer, we as a staff, and I'll talk about that staff in a second, kind of started looking around at each other saying, man, we might have something here. Now, we didn't know what. And, leading up to this season, the senior class, they had to deal with COVID and spring ball, and then they had to play up as sophomores, and then their junior season didn't go great in regards to win-losses and things like that. And we kind of, as a staff, talked about not wanting to dwell in the past. We didn't want to make them feel bad. We didn't want to talk bad about anybody or anything that really happened in the past. But we did address the obvious, right? Like, nobody wanted to have a losing season, and nobody wanted to have scores that, didn't look good for TF North football. We wanted to be competitive. And that was our main focus. So we get to June, and right away, in the first 3 days of summer camp, we noticed that they did not complain about the work that we were putting in the field. And I took a lot of what I learned at Lincoln Way East and established it right away. And their work ethic at East is something that they pride themselves on, and they should, because nobody outworks those guys. And we wanted to teach our kids, like, hey, we may not have, the turf fields, or we may not have a 100-man roster. We might not be an 8A school, but we can work hard. That's something that we control. We can put in the time, the effort, and the commitment on the field. And those are things that we can control, just like any school in the country. So let's just get after that. And they did. They jumped right in. Their attendance was great. Their punctuality was great. And their work ethic was really strong on the field. They loved the football work. And that was really cool. And I think they really enjoyed how we practiced. Everything's scripted. Everything, is organized with different periods, and there's time frame on it, and it's constant movement and all that stuff. And another really important piece that got us pretty excited as a coaching staff was only 4 days into the summer, we went over to Eisenhower and did a 7-on-7, and we competed really well. We conducted ourselves really, really professionally. I thought our kids did a great job. And for some of those guys, maybe a guy missed one day the week before. There was not a single guy on that field at the 7-on-7 who had more than 3 or 4 days of camp in our system. So to go over there and compete and do it the right way, I thought that was a huge takeaway very early on in the year. Fast forward to August, we're getting ready for doubles. We started school a little bit later. So, we beat the hell out of them again in August. And we had a really thin roster. I mean, we had 30 guys, Jay. It was a 30-man roster.
Yeah.
And we had to pull up a bunch of sophomores. So, going into the season, we were like, man, we better be in shape. If anything, we better be in shape because all these guys are going to be playing all 3 phases, and they got to be ready to go. So we worked them really hard in August in fall camp, and then rolled into the season and came out with a great win week 1 at Proviso West, which I think you could hear like a collective sigh of relief, like, okay, we got the first one. That's awesome, Yeah. And that's both from the players and the coaches. And then from there, it kind of just snowballed into this, confidence, belief, trust, all those things from player to coach, player to player, coach to coach, coach to player. Everybody kind of seemed to be all in. I think we had gotten to a point after those first few weeks of starting the season 3-0, like, wow, maybe this is something that is going to carry on for the next few weeks. And this could be something really special looking back on it. But we kind of kept everything 6 inches in front of our face. As coaches, we humbled the guys. We made sure they enjoyed their victories, but then we humbled them every Monday with film, and we did our unique way of motivating guys each week as we went into games. But really just never lost sight of the work. We just wanted to make sure that they knew like nothing was going to be handed to them. They heard me say this over and over again, but if it's worth something in life, it's probably not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be handed to you. And we just kept attacking it. And, finished 7-3, cracked the playoffs this year. And I don't want to go negative, especially on this great YouTube and talking to a former player, but I'll be honest, you look back on the season, obviously there's a smile on my face, but up here, I think about the 3 games that we didn't win. Those are the ones I can't stop thinking about. Those are the ones that have motivated me since October and into the off season. It's what I sent out on my letter to the program about the off season. I put all 3 scores from our losses on the letter that went home, because those are the 3 games that stand out to me. And by no means am I taking away from the wins, because we had an outstanding season. Those seniors should be ecstatic about how they left the program. You've heard me say this to you guys as senior class. You just want to leave it better than you found it, right?
Yep.
And our motto this season was set the standard, and those seniors set it. They set it pretty damn high. So we're hoping that our next crop coming up will be able to meet or exceed that standard now that it's been set. But those 3 losses are what's motivating me this offseason, and I hope it's motivating our guys, and we'll carry that into the summer and hope to continue that. But again, going back to the players, what an outstanding year. We end up having 10 all-conference guys, 8 seniors, all different positions, 3 linemen, a few skill guys. We had 2 juniors make the team, 1 junior lineman and 1 junior skill player. Our quarterback, Don Bradford, was unanimously voted conference player of the year, and that's chosen by all the conference coaches at our all-conference meeting. So that was a really special moment. I know a guy that I was always chomping at the bit for to get that award in baseball. So to finally have it happen in football was really cool, and well deserved. Football, it's a little different than baseball, in regards just to the physicality of it. And for our quarterback to go out there and play as well as he did on offense, but then go and play free safety for us and was an outstanding defensive player. Then he was doing some onside kicks. He was returning kicks. He was our punter. He did everything. He was a utility player, Jay. I mean, he was a true football utility player, and very, very proud of him and what he did. But he'd be the first one to tell you too, he's not doing it alone. He's got to have guys block for him first and foremost. We had an outstanding offensive line, just a great group of guys who were super selfless, put the team first, everything you want out of your linemen. That's what we had this year. And then our skill guys were special, man. We had a few guys, once the ball got in their hands, just let them do their thing. My job was real easy. Get the ball to this guy, get the ball to that guy, let them do their thing.
Right.
And then on the defensive side of the ball, we played outstanding defense, and our special teams coordinator pretty damn well. He's the man behind the curtain. He's the magician. Coach Anaclerio was unbelievable on special teams. And
them trick plays, man.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. And just our whole staff, Coach Rogers came back. He was my defensive coordinator when I went to North. So he comes back, runs the defense. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to think about it. Coach Anaclerio comes back, runs the special teams. I'm not worrying about that. I don't have to think about it. Put complete trust, in those guys. And then obviously the other assistant coaches on both sides of the ball were outstanding. Coach Soldes, who Coach Newsom came back. Coach Newsom was in the building, coached baseball with us for a year. One of my former teammates, Will Johnson, was back. And then a few new faces to football. Coach Jamo. We got Coach Jamo jumping on the football. Our JV coach is a young guy, a little bit newer to the building, Coach Cervantes, but he's an Oak Forest alum, outstanding coach who I think does an awesome job with our lower levels. And then Coach Fortier, who's, obviously coaching baseball now. He's doing some recruiting in regards to the coaching staff there, which I'm really happy to see. He's done a great job with our, strength and conditioning. This is really his time to shine now is the off season. So just an awesome, collection of coaches and just really, really, really happy to be a part of it. And like I said, whether I'm a head coach, assistant coach, I'm just a small part of it. It really comes down to our staff working together. But then the players, it's all about those guys, all about you kids.
Sure. Man, we definitely excited about next year, man. We happy about what happened this year. And we just looking forward to next year, man. I know we're going to do even better next year for sure. But just to wrap it up and everything, I just had a final question. Like, I know you always been a family guy and everything, but now you saying that you the manager for the Frankfurt Force that your sons is playing on and everything, and just what's family life like now, just spending more time with them and your kids getting older and everything like that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You remember you were around at the beginning phases of that. I think, thinking back to that, Jay, you probably rolled in and we had Ella and we were probably just welcoming Carmen, and now we're up to Junior and Lucas. So there's 4 little ones and not really so little anymore running around the Pignatiello house. And, it's very special. It's very special to be a father. You hear all the cliches, but to see your kids, especially as somebody who coaches, for a living and teaches for a living, it's great to see your kids bring home good report cards and be involved in sports and have friends off the field and, coaches coming over and saying positive things about your kid. It means a lot. And so we're very busy. I have Ella. She's 12 now. She's a 6th grader. She just wrapped up her 6th grade school team, basketball team in the fall. And now she's doing travel basketball. And then the boys, Carmen's 8, and he's playing 9U travel baseball, which I am the manager of. I'll come back to that in a second. And he does basketball in the winter. He does flag football in the fall. He's going to be probably throwing the pads on next season. Oh, yeah. And then his shadow, Junior, is 7 now. And same thing like his older brother. He plays baseball, but he's not doing travel just yet. He's got 1 more year, then he'll jump into the travel scene. But he's playing basketball. And then he does flag football as well. And then Luca, he's something, man. He rounds us out, but oh my gosh, he keeps us on the toes. And he's just getting started with all the different, kiddie leagues where he can do this sport, that sport. They kind of introduce everything to him. He's only 4, so we're a household who's on the move. My wife, she's like an Uber driver. My wife, Andrea, she's just constantly driving to this practice and dropping off this kid here and picking up this kid there. And it makes things interesting on my end because of, having to do different things at North. Obviously, especially in the fall, I'm not, getting home until usually after 7:30, 8 o'clock. So anything that's going on with my kids' sports, it's usually a lot of that falls on my wife. She's unbelievable in balancing the schedules and then doing all the things that she does to keep the house standing and make the house run. So I give her all the credit. She's definitely the head coach at the house, Jay. She's the one in control at the house. She's calling all the shots, and I just try and stay out of her way and on her good side. But I'm not always good at that either. But in regards to my son, Carmen, yeah, I jumped into the travel ball thing just based on a lot of the things that I heard from, different individuals, whether it be you guys who have played and got an opportunity to play at a young age on travel teams. I just, I wanted to be a part of it because I wanted to try and make it a good experience. And by no means am I the best baseball coach, as you know better than anybody. But I did feel that, it was important for me to be a part of it because I've heard some negative things about travel sports, not just baseball, but travel in general. It can get a little goofy at times, and I felt kind of obligated to try and prevent that. And after our first year at 8U, I thought it was a tremendous success and had a really, really great season with some great families, some great little ball players, and was fortunate enough to be able to come back and do it again this year. Now, I will tell you that going from the first year when I took over and was still an assistant football coach at Lincoln Way, didn't have the responsibilities of being a head high school football coach. It's a little different this year. There's a lot more responsibility on me at the high school level now that makes it not necessarily more difficult, but I'm definitely balancing a lot more this time of year with the travel ball getting ready to kick off and then all the things that I'm obligated to do to make the football thing work. So just trying to balance those things. And again, very fortunate to have a great, supporting cast at home. All my kids get it. I'm super, super, super blessed to have the boys, the two older boys on the sideline as ball boys this year. The pictures that I have from people with those two running around with their jerseys on is something that I'll cherish for a long time. And, my daughter, she's a tomboy through and through, and she loves sports. So, she got to, really sit back and watch the game. And my kids, as you know, because you've been around them, they get attached to you guys, even if you don't interact with them, every single day. At their age, they don't need to see you guys every day. They hear about you at home, or they get to know you once or twice. And, guys like you and Shaq, who, have been around my kids now for, 8 years, 9 years, whatever it's been, they can't wait to see you guys. You put a big smile on their face. And even if those times of being around them are a little bit far and few between because you guys are busy and they're busy, I know it means a lot to my kids. I actually texted a bunch of our seniors shortly after our season ended, and I was taking my kids, Ella and the two older boys. We were going to a Northwestern football game actually to see AJ and another player that I coached, Sean McLaughlin at East. They're both on the Northwestern team. And on the way up there, the whole conversation was really about who were the seniors and, that they're leaving and, who's going to replace them from this TF North team. They were really, sad to hear some of these names of these seniors not being around anymore. And, my kids really only got to know them for about 4 months once the game started. So, just that's impactful stuff, and I know it's a little cheesy, a little corny, but it's the truth, it's the reality, and it's what makes doing what I do that much more special. To have guys like yourself who are now adults, successful, getting started in your careers, kind of turning the page and going to the next phase of your life, next chapter of your life. But then, also getting guys like you to come back and coach, it's really special. And then seeing that impact that you have on my kids. And, it's a really, really cool, special job that I have as a coach, and it's something that I don't take for granted. It's definitely something that I promote to other people. So I'm just very blessed and very thankful to have had the experiences that I have. And I look forward to the future experiences.
For sure, man. Well, I appreciate you for coming on, Pig, man. This was very special to me because this my guy, man. Like he said, we grew together. So, man, it was real special for you to come on, and I appreciate it, man.
Well, hey, you know where you stand in my book. You don't want to get in trouble for ranking players, especially when something's going to get put out there. But I will tell you that you're way up there at the top, as you should be. Very proud of you, and not just because of what you did on the baseball field for TF North, and then obviously your successes afterwards, but most importantly about the man that you are and the man that you're becoming, the man you're growing into. And anything that we can do over at TF North or I can do for you personally, we're always here for you, Jay. I'm really, really excited to see you put the North hat back on and get into those coaching ranks and maybe get a little taste of your own medicine. Hopefully you don't got to kick anybody out of practice or take anybody's walk-up song away. But you know what? If you do, you're prepared to handle it the right way, because those moments are going to happen. And when you need to drop the hammer, you do it. And then you go back in that locker room or you come back the next day at that practice and you go put your arm around that young person and you make sure that you tell them, hey, we've all been there. And if you need to tell them, go talk to that guy with the mullet. He'll tell you about when I was there, just like I told you guys the stories about when some of those coaches that I had who are still at TF North had to put me in my place. It's a full circle moment. So I hope you get to experience that. Not too often on the negative side, but that is part of it. So really happy for you. Really, really pumped for TF North baseball, Coach Fortier, Shaq, Coach J-Mo, all those guys, for you to see you guys out there. I'm going to get out to a few games. Hopefully you can teach that change up to a couple of those pitchers too, because I know that thing is nasty.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely excited, man. I just can't wait to really get started, man. I just can't wait till we can really spend like every day with them, so I can really instill them same things that like even Slick taught me. Like Slick, he taught me to change up, man. And he was only around for a little bit, so I'm just hoping I definitely can show them kids what I know now.
Absolutely. Well, you learn from the best. Big shout out to Coach Slick and everything he did for you guys in that short period of time. What an impact he had on our program, and now probably more importantly, what he's doing for our country. And just what an outstanding guy to look up to and have as a part of our lives. We love him, and we're praying for him, and we know he's gonna be the best at whatever he puts his mind to, because that's his kind of way. You know what I mean?
For sure. Appreciate you, Pig, man. We're going to sign off. That's another episode on That Type Time, y'all.
All right, Jay. We'll talk to you, man. Thanks again.